Raphaël Melançon is joining me in studio. Now, Raphaël is a columnist at the Gazette. He's a political analyst here at the CJAD 800, also at our station, our television station at CTV Montreal. And Raphaël, geez, there are a few things to talk about.
Yes, even though it's the holidays, the news never stop.
We were just talking off the air. Let's touch on, we've spoken to it with a few people, but let's touch on that Journal de Montréal poll about the popularity of certain politicians in the province.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of strange, don't you think, that in Quebec, the most popular politician is a federal liberal?
It is. It is. He's not even a Quebecer.
There you go.
Yes, Mark Carney still very high in those polls, despite the fact that, yes, he dropped a bit. But it's normal. You know, whenever you get to power, you have to make sometimes difficult decisions. And yes, it can generate some discontent among the population. But still, we're not still talking about a Carney mania. I remember in 2015 witnessing the Trudeau mania at the time. With ladies who were fighting to stand a chance at passing their hands in the hair of a young Justin Trudeau at the time. That was crazy. I had never seen something like that in my life, and probably will never see something else like that in my life.
It wasn't that much different when his father came to.
There was a Trudeau mania at the time, but I'm too young to remember that. I was not born at the time, so yes. But still, yes, Mark Carney still has a certain honeymoon with Quebecers, obviously, and it's the complete opposite when you look at what's happening on the Quebec side, on the provincial side with François Legault. I mean, if you look at the numbers, yes, despite everything that happened with the Liberal Party in the past few weeks, Legault is still 10 points ahead of Pablo Rodriguez in terms of disapproval, in terms of unfavorable opinion. So he's at 59% right now, whereas Pablo Rodriguez is at 49%. It's still a very bad score. But for François Legault, he's the least appreciated premier of all provincial premiers in this country. And I think it speaks volumes in terms of his prospects for the next year. Mm-hmm. And it's just... to me, it's quite clear that he's at the same place at the moment as Justin Trudeau was just a year ago. And as we know, Trudeau announced he was resigning as leader and as prime minister at the beginning of January, and I don't feel like Legault is going in that direction at the moment, but I hope that he'll take time before the session resumes at the National Assembly to go back and have another walk in the snow, because as we know, that's what he said just a few weeks ago. He said he went for a walk in the snow, thought about it, and came to the conclusion that he should remain as leader of the CQ. I hope he's going to take the time to go back for another walk and maybe think twice about it, because right now it's going nowhere. His party could be completely wiped out from the electoral map in the next election. And at some point, what's going to happen is if he doesn't resign by himself, well, people within his party are going to show him the way out.
Well, yeah, because they want to be reelected, right? And they don't have a very good chance of that happening if he remains on as leader.
There are still 80 MNAs, more than 80 MNAs within that party who are at risk at the moment of losing their seat in the next election. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that right now a lot of them are looking at the numbers and they're starting to panic, saying, hey, if the leader doesn't open his eyes and if he doesn't admit that he's no longer the leader to lead that party into the next election, then we will have to do something about it. And I hope that in 2026, they find the courage. Somebody somewhere, it takes a lot of courage, especially considering that Legault is not only the leader of the party, he's not only the premier, but he's the one who created that party.
Exactly.
So it's touchy. Yeah. I understand that it's very touchy for anyone to raise their hands and say publicly, I would invite the premier to leave and let somebody else take over and maybe stand a chance at saving at least part of that party. But at this point, it's the only solution. It's been consistent. And, in politics, you're always looking for trends. And the trend has been consistent over and over for over a year now. people want change, and it's really hard to fight a strong will for change right now like that. It's normal after 7 years in power that there's a fatigue and that people want to have a new leader. And as we have seen on the federal stage, well, Mark Carney proved that just a change in leader can turn things around completely for a party. Just a year ago, Pierre Poilievre was guaranteed to be Canada's next prime minister. Look where he is now.
Now look where he is. Yeah. Now, as you just so rightly stated, 8-9 months can be an eternity as far as politics are concerned. And that's about how far we are away from another provincial election.
If it happens in October.
Yeah, well, that's
Could
what
be
I was
earlier.
getting. Could be February 13th, right? Because that's the last day that candidates have to declare. And if no one else, there's right now it's Charles Milliard. And if no one else declares by February 13th, we could have a new leader of the Liberal Party named.
That could change the entire political landscape in the province, because as the more Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and the PQ will continue to talk about sovereignty and a third referendum, because as we know, 2/3 of Quebecers don't want to hear about it at the moment. So the more he's going to talk about it, the more people are going to look for an alternative that's not a sovereignist alternative. So either it's going to be the CQ, either with François Legault or another leader, either it's going to be the Liberals. And if ever Charles Milliard was going to be crowned as the new leader of the Liberals, as it seems like it's going to be the case, because the other main contender in the last leadership race, Carl Blackburn, already announced he was not going to run this time. Unless there's someone we are not seeing on the radar at the moment that declares himself or herself as a candidate, Charles Milliard should be indeed confirmed as the new leader of the Liberals as soon as February the 13th. And I feel like, and you know, what's interesting also in the poll that we were talking about earlier is that people don't know Charles Milliard. And to me, right now in politics, I would see this as an advantage.
Especially in Quebec.
And especially with what happened recently with Pablo Rodriguez. He's starting on a blank page, basically. So everything can be done. You don't have a past to defend. You don't have a background. You don't have past decisions that people disagree with. You have a blank page here. So everything, you have to build your reputation. It's a very short time and just 9 months to get people to know you, yes. But being someone who is seen as an outsider at this point, I would say, especially for the Liberals, can be a huge advantage.
Well, that's what brings me to the question, and you've sort of semi-answered it, actually. And what do you think the chances are that whomever it is that ends up at the head of the Liberal Party can turn things around? And it would have to be a drastic U-turn to make a race of it.
The task will be humongous for the new leader of the Liberal Party, whether it's Milliard or somebody else. First of all, you have to rebuild that party's reputation, reconnect, rebuild the trust Quebec voters have in your party after all that happened, change the internal culture of the party as well, because what we have discovered these past few months is that there was still a culture of, quote, flang within the Liberal Party. Maybe at the lower levels. I'm not saying that Rodriguez himself was directly involved, but still the brownies, the $500 cash envelopes, all of that tells us that there is something, there's a mess that needs to be cleaned up, and there's a culture that needs to be changed within the party. So this is going to be a huge task. And then you have to reconnect, most of all, with Francophone voters. The Liberals right now are the lowest. If you want to stand a chance, because they're guaranteed, or at least they have a certain number of seats that they will get from the greater Montreal area.
Right.
But you have to get out of this. If you want to get a majority and form the next government, you have to connect with Quebec voters in the regions.
Right.
And these are Francophone voters. You have to reconnect with them. So I think having someone like Milliard, who is also from the Eastern Township, so he's not a Montreal guy, he's also a guy from the regions, that could help them reconnect with people in the regions.
That helps them to understand and to speak to the voters in the
of the
regions.
reality, and for voters also to see themselves in that leader. He's younger, he's a fresh face, he's charismatic, he's proven. You know what? I know Milliard myself. I've worked with him, actually, full disclosure. I've worked with him at National Public Relations many years ago. When he first announced that he was running for the leadership of the Liberals, I didn't really believe it.
Really?
I didn't really believe he stood a chance. And he really surprised me. He ran a great campaign facing someone with great notoriety like Pablo Rodriguez. It was not going to be a walk in the park. And in the end, he came very close to Rodriguez, close to 48% on the second ballot. That's a great score for someone who's apparently unknown to the general public. So I think he can do the same thing. If he did that with the party and the party members, he can maybe do the same thing with Quebecers in the next election.
And what was it that surprised you? You said you were surprised that he did as well as he did. Was he more charismatic as you remembered him, or did he have a certain flair? Or?
You know, when you see someone on a daily basis in the office, it's not the same thing as seeing him on a stage delivering a speech. So it's a completely different setting. I was not aware of his talent. I was not aware of his strategic capabilities as well. He had the right messaging, and I think he also, for the Liberals, you know, Rodriguez was more of the federal side of the Liberal Party,
right?
More of the federalist side as well. Milliard is closer ideologically, I would say, to someone like Robert Bourassa. So, if you want to take back the title of the party of the economy from the CEQ, and if you want to seduce nationalists who are not sovereignist but tell them come back to the Liberal Party, he might be the right guy.
Wow. Raphaël, once again, I have indulged myself too much in speaking to you because I find it fascinating, and we've gone over time. So I thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
I don't think I'll be seeing you before the new year, so I wish you a very
happy New Year to you as well, Tom, and it will be an exciting year in politics for sure.
It certainly will.
The biggest songs in the world. You've heard them countless times. Now, learn the details of how they came to be. Join Ruby Carr for Encore, the stories behind the songs you love. New interviews and newly unearthed archive footage make for a fascinating weekly deep dive. Stream Encore, the stories behind the songs you love on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.